Hello and welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle, a positive band of British voices united in all things Disney, and for June the 1st, 2023. It's our 4th birthday celebration, and do we have a show for you?
Oh my goodness, it feels so much longer than 4 years. In a good way.
In a good way.
I'm not going to comment. It just feels much longer.
A lot has happened in those 4 years. We've seen a lot of changes.
Hasn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of changes, a lot of trips, a lot of non-trips.
Even just the sound quality from some of the first ones.
We have upgraded from a few cans and a bit stream.
Exactly.
So
A couple of yogurt pots.
Yeah.
that's the one. We have some lighting, some cameras, I think. As long as we keep them charged,
I'll have some internet eventually.
I know. That's one of the best things.
I can't wait, Claire.
No. I think the thing is...
It just means that everyone has to tune in to the show that's going to be out on the 2nd of June, so that'll be out tomorrow, our live Ted Lasso show, because by then Claire will have super quick internet.
Allegedly.
The best internet in the world.
I could just imagine that's just going to be a nightmare,
Well, just as long as it doesn't decide to break everything.
Don't.
The night of their live
If anyone wants a little bit of a laugh before we start the show, we nearly never got to record this because Claire's had a power cut most of today. So with food in the fridge going off, things like that. So
don't even go there. And you know the funniest thing is I sent people off to buy some food for supper, and they came back with frozen things, and I was like, what? That's not helpful today. And the most important thing was that the wine and the beer were going warm. It was awful.
That is a disaster.
Restored.
Disaster.
Everything is restored to working order, and keep fingers crossed it stays on.
Right. So let's get on with the show. And actually, with Wafflers heading to Disney throughout this year and so many great shows, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our build-up towards the Disney 100 celebrations. If you haven't quite twigged, we've got Ben and Becca, Peter and Jill, Claire and myself to guide you through our 4th birthday, the June the 1st show. And before we begin, I'm just going to highlight we've got some incredible Wafflers Wednesday shows coming up on our YouTube channel, live every Wednesday at 8:30 UK time. And there's a podcast, which you can actually download on a Friday for those who actually just enjoy the listening experience as well. So loads to go out. Make sure to subscribe. And do you know something, guys? Let's wish ourselves a happy birthday before we go on.
Yeah.
Happy birthday!
I don't know how we get so much done. And I don't know how we got to work with all the stuff we do for the book.
I think it should be a full-time job that's paid. But
this time next year we'll be run by AI. It'll be fine.
There's a thought. Anyway, to celebrate our birthday, we have got a planning spectacular to share with you, and hopefully we'll give you that inspiration and indeed the ideas of planning for your next Disney trip. So stay tuned for that. But first of all, we're going to continue our journey towards the Disney century with our own trip across the Disney decades. This month, Peter takes us back to 1953 to 1963. Over to you, Peter.
The decade 1953 to 63 was a busy time for Disney Studios. Both the animation and live action departments brought out some classics. First up was a film that had been shelved while the US was in World War II, Peter Pan. The story of the boy who never grew up captured the imagination of people around the world and is still regarded as a classic to this day. Sadly, it was the last film that all the legendary 9 Old Men worked on. Other animated films included 101 Dalmatians, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty, and finishing with The Sword in the Stone in December '63. Meanwhile, the live-action department went into overdrive. Naked documentaries were really popular, with some notable films being The Living Desert, which was the first film to be distributed by Buena Vista, and its sister film, The Vanishing Prairie. There were also documentaries from around the world, including The African Lion, which was shot in Kenya, Tanganyika, and Uganda. The live-action fictional films saw a whole raft of releases. Rob Roy, which was the last film to be distributed by RKO, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Darby O'Gill and the Little People, famous for its special effects, Pollyanna, Babes in Toyland, and The Incredible Journey being just some of the highlights. However, one event overshadowed all these successes. In 1955, Walt was to bring to fruition a project that he'd been working on for a while. A project that had rekindled his enthusiasm, a project that was to start a whole new venture for Disney, the opening of Disneyland. The park opened on the 17th of July 1955, and to say it was a success is a massive understatement. This was supposed to be a press preview at which the park would be dedicated. However, about 28,000 people attended that day. About half of them had official tickets, the rest either bought counterfeit tickets or simply climbed over the fences. The 18th was the first day of the general public attending, and it later became known as Black Sunday. The opening was broadcast by ABC TV. It was, to put it mildly, not the best broadcast ever. The reporters had difficulty handing over to each other. Bob Cummings was filmed kissing a dancer, and technical problems meant that Walt had to restart his speech. The park was very, very, very busy, and a plumber strike meant that Walt had to choose between working drink fountains and running toilets. Some of the concrete had been poured that morning, and high heels sank into it. Walt later invited official attendees back to have a private day in the park. Despite these teething troubles, the park was a massive success. In early 1960s, the Shah of Iran and Empress Farah were invited to the park. Another world leader was not so lucky. Nikita Khrushchev, Soviet Secretary of State, visited the US in 1959 and wanted to do two things: meet John Wayne and visit Disneyland. Due to Cold War tensions, the visit to the park could not go ahead. He did, however, get to meet John Wayne and have a drink or two. What a decade.
Again, what a decade. And I think this is what we're finding. Each decade that we're looking at becomes like pivotal in how not just the animation studio, but actually how Walt himself actually was pushing so many different things at the same time. And as the animation was maybe put to one side, how much more to the fore came the live action stuff, and also then sort of the theme park idea, which in some respects I think a lot of people forget some of the animation that was out at that time, and then they just continue to just go back to the fact, Disneyland opened, but actually some of the ones there, Lady and the Tramp and Peter Pan, you're still thinking are quite iconic even in the parks and also as films today,
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it was
how quickly they managed to get Disneyland together and open.
Yeah.
When you think about how long some projects take at
Tron.
Disney over the past few years, it's amazing to think, isn't it?
Yeah. And it really did give Walt an extra zing, because with the strike that had just happened and the company getting very big, so he couldn't have as much of an interest in it. Having the park really inspired him and got him going again.
I tell you what, I am so glad that social media was not a thing in 1955, because can you imagine Twitter on opening day? Can you imagine YouTube?
Yeah.
And only I was at the, I snuck over the fence.
For me, this just all the talk of Disneyland makes you want to book a trip.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
It does.
It's
I'd
on our
love
list.
to be and just be in the park where we'll walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's always at the forefront of everyone's mind. And I think as well, Ben, I think irrespective of trip or not, you actually, I think, Claire, you were right. You know, when you look at how long it takes to build a ride within an established theme park now, how would you actually go and begin to think about opening it actually on one specific date and it all actually being ready? And again, I just think it's a minor miracle in some ways that actually opened when it did, because I think in this day and age, health and safety would have maybe I've had a few words to say, and I'm not even going to go down the political route of what's happening in Florida just now as regarding the Disney parks, but you can see how it in a way it's like history repeating. When you were talking there, Peter, about how the politics of it began to sort of impinge upon the actual opening because certain politicians want to be seen front of stage, and it's really bizarre how influential the actual opening of Disneyland was in the development of Disney as a company. You think about the previous 10 years from last month and how the war had massively impacted upon the company, and this is it sort of springing into new life and actually reinventing itself, but on a massive scale that previously, during wartime was perhaps unthinkable. But thanks, Peter. That was absolutely incredible. And again, I can't tell you enough. If you're listening to this and it just adds to your own sort of knowledge of where these theme parks and where the films all fit in. Stick with us, because we're going to go all the way right up to modern day as we look back across each of the Disney decades. And I don't know about you, but I'm really enjoying it.
You are listening to the Great British Mickey Waffle, a podcast all about positivity and the magic of Disney. We're a group of British voices united in our love for all things Disney. If you're a fan of Disney and looking for some positivity in your day, you're in the right place. Tune in to hear us talk about fan favourite attractions, behind the scenes secrets, and uplifting stories from the happiest place on earth. If you want to learn more about us and all the things we do, be sure to visit our website at gbmickeywaffle.com. You'll find information about our podcasts, live shows, and more. So sit back, relax, and get ready to experience the magic of Disney with the Great British Mickey Waffle. Now, back to the show.
Well, after so many different planning elements to recent podcasts, we thought it'd be a bit of fun, again, to celebrate our birthday, to explore and to share our dream trip to Walt Disney World with you. Now, as always, there's a few simple rules which no doubt Claire will break. That goes without
Obviously.
saying. But the rules were, and this is where it makes it a little bit easier, because the rules were to try and keep it realistic. So no travelling first class, no staying in the Grand Flow for 3 weeks, and all of that stuff. Let's be in touch with the people who are listening, and let's try and provide that bit where we can actually help people just to cost up a trip to the most magical place on earth. So, with all that said, who's going to kick off? I think so. Ben and Becca, go on.
Yeah. Well, because we're Disney Vacation Club members, we've it's going to be different to probably the rest of us on how we book our trips. So, but I think starting off with accommodation, we've decided to go for a 15-night trip. I know it's not the same as a 14-night, but it just seemed to.
It couldn't make it 4 months.
No, we wanted to. We did decide that we'll get a one-way flight there and stay out all year, but that would have blown the budget. Unless we win tonight's lottery, then that
There
might
you go.
happen. But you never know. But
Give me a moment. I'll just go
no,
put a ticket on.
our-
You've got to be in
Yeah,
it to
that's
win
true.
it.
In it to win it. Yeah. So yeah, we're flying with our favourite airline, which is Virgin Atlantic, going from Heathrow, which is where they fly from at the minute because they're not back at Gatwick. And we've got two prices where we've looked at economy or premium. We're trying to keep it realistic, but it's also a dream trip, and sometimes it's worth paying a little bit extra to get that extra bag. So, and also slightly more comfy seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these prices are for 2 adults. So the economy price is £1,080 and premium is £1,775 for 2 people.
Yeah.
So I can tell by the look on John's face that he thinks that's nice and expensive.
We did look at.
We did look at upper class.
And we thought we can't really
Can't
go.
justify that.
If anyone is
It's about
interested, that was 4,000.
Nah, maybe not then. Maybe not.
So, and it is going in January. So we've decided to go from the 22nd of January to 6th of February next year, so we can get in Festival of the Arts, a festival we've done before, and we really want to go
That's
back.
probably
and do
still my
again.
favourite, so.
Yeah. But we are adding something into this trip. It's not just Disney. We are going to be doing Universal and Disney. So we're going to kick off with 5 nights at Endless Summer. And then followed by 10 nights at Saratoga Springs.
So the 5 nights at Endless Summer Dockside worked out to be about £433.
What total?
And the 10 night... Yeah,
Just for
the
Endless
5
Summer.
nights at Endless Summer Dockside for 5 nights, which I didn't think was too bad.
That's
Really?
extremely good.
Good grief.
Yeah,
It is.
Endless Summer
It is a value
really,
place, but yeah.
really really good value hotel, and it's really well designed as
You
well.
get the on-site perks, but what you don't get is the express pass.
No.
That's the thing you don't get. So you get the transportation, you get the early entry, on site. You've got transportation.
It's about 5-minute bus ride to the parks.
Yes.
It's the bigger of the two Endless Summer resorts.
We've stayed in Surfside
Yeah.
before, but we thought we'd go for Dockside as when
It's a bit cheaper.
it's about £20 cheaper than Surfside. So, but we thought that's really good. And comparing that to our next accommodation at Disney, which is 10 nights at Saratoga Springs, and as I mentioned before, we're DVC members, that works out as 137 points. Which, if you were to book that straight through Disney, would be £3,900
Yeah.
on the current rate.
Is that in
But if you
a...
decide-
Sorry, can I just check? Is that a
It's a-
studio or 1 bedroom?
that's a studio.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
a studio room, so you get 1 bed, you get the pull down the Murphy bed as well, so you can sleep up to 4 in there as well. But yeah, you can rent DVC points from a member who might not be using them that year, and you could do that through David's DVC rentals, and that turns out that £3,900 room turns out to be £2,312.
Right.
Wow.
So
Other
yes,
rental agencies are available.
yes,
Yeah.
And we're not sponsored.
you do not get like the dining credit, so that is a thing to look into, but it's such a big savings. Nearly £1,700
Yeah.
cheaper
Yeah, it's
just by
well worth
renting
it.
points out.
I know.
So-
Sorry, just out of interest, obviously we've talked about renting points
Yeah.
previously on our DVC show and stuff. How safe is it to rent points? Because that's always my anxiety. I know there's a loaded question, Ben, and I'm going to hold.
Yeah,
you were
no,
reading my
they're-
mind there, Claire, as well, because
There
That's
are
my
two
worry.
ways
Yeah.
that I would
Yeah.
recommend people to go and look at it. You can go. Disney have their own Facebook group where members can join, and also people that want to rent can join. And there's moderators on there, and there's a lot of people that recommend other members that they've rented through before.
Okay.
So you have sort of that trust side of it. And we've used David's before to rent out our points to other members when during the pandemic we couldn't go. So we wanted to make sure, and the experience we got from that, and there is a contract that you do sign with David, and it's a contract between you, David, and the person who owns the points, to make sure that you are covered in the eventuality.
So both parties.
Okay,
That's
that's good.
That's really
You do have
impressive.
that.
Yeah.
There are so
Yeah.
The risk
member doesn't-
sits with the company rather than either individual. Okay.
Yeah, so you pay your full amount to David's. They hold on to it to make sure that the points are there and things are done properly. That it's booked through Disney, so they make sure they get that the room is there. And if there's any issues, it's done with David's as staying in control.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
so-
I mean, as far as I know, once they've got the reservation number, is when they move the money over to.
Okay.
yeah. So and it all can happen on check-in. So it's one of those you get the
Yeah.
person renting out the points gets a small amount to begin with as so they're releasing the
Like a
points,
deposit. Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they get the full amount at
Yeah.
the end when they know they've checked
Cool.
in. So
I have to say that was my worry as well in these post-COVID times. You know.
I have to admit, you can save an awful lot of money, as we've said, but I do sometimes think it's worth the risk. And also, you never know if there's a friend that you know is a DVC member. Join the Facebook group. Disney have set this up for people to actually do this, because not everyone, even we bought in, there are going to be years where we decide not to go to Walt Disney World and use our points.
Yeah.
They're going to be points that we want to rent out, and we would happily rent our points if we're not going that year.
Yeah.
Because we want to cover our dues and also use that money towards another trip or
Wherever else we're going.
what we're doing. So, I'm running. So far on our accommodation, the total price is $2,745.
That
Okay.
So if we rented the points out and booked and endless summer, so that would be 15.
Wow.
Ben, I can I just add as well for endless summer, because when I'm looking at my dream trip, obviously that'll come later in the show, but I've just looked for this August, and the actual the prices of endless summer are really. If anyone's thinking of going, they are very, very competitive in comparison to nigh on anywhere else. I think probably everyone when you told us how much
I'll
you were
give you a little
paying,
tip.
Claire and I were like, "What?"
Yeah.
And it
What? Yeah.
Make
Is that the one
sure-
over the road?
Make sure.
It's on the
Yeah,
old
it's where
West
the
Yeah.
old
Wales
one
Yeah.
used to be.
Make sure that you book at least 4 nights, because you
Okay.
get 20% off as soon as you hit that 4 nights.
Right.
That's
it's
20% off the
really
entire
it's
stay.
really intriguing, Ben, because
So
actually
we-
when you look at
We
prices,
booked last year through Virgin
Yeah.
Holidays, and it was, I think, our 4 nights there was £320.
Wow.
That's very,
And we
very
ended
good.
up with a free upgrade to
say
a
they-
2-bedroom room suite as well. So
Yeah.
And let's face it, that was one night in Royal Pacific.
That was one night in Royal Pacific. Yeah.
And you don't get the express passes, but if you are going off season or one where you don't think you're going to need it, and also we were there last year for 4 nights.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because they've been
And-
going for a long enough time.
We didn't think we needed express passes because we were staying in
Yeah.
the park, so we can go in for early entry,
Yeah.
get on the rides that we wanted to, or go stay later. Because you're closer, you don't feel like the need to do that. But
Yeah.
so we've got our flights, we've got our accommodation, but once we've landed at MCO, we've got to get to our hotel. So our choice of transport is Uber. So we will be getting an Uber XL, so we can fit in all our cases to the hotel, and that will cost £30.
MCO to Endless Summer is about £30.
Yeah. And then from Endless Summer to Saratoga Springs is £23. And then going back to the airport from Saratoga to MCO will be £35.
Okay. So
And then we budgeted
18.
an extra £150 to cover any other Ubers that we decide to do for shopping trips, if we just didn't want to use Disney
Yeah.
transport that day, or
We fancy the offside dining.
Okay.
we decided sort of just to budget sort of. So
Always budget a little bit on that.
But the next thing we want to talk about is tickets. We had a look and try and work out, do we book packages through with the hotels as an option? But we've decided to go through attraction tickets, because they've got a combo ticket, which is for the Disney Universal, which is the 4 main Disney parks, 2 water parks, and that's 14 days over 18. And you've got the 3 Universal parks, including the water park, which is a 14-day ticket, and that's £823 each. And that's something that the price that I find of those, the thing that has gone up since
Yeah.
we booked before the
Yeah.
pandemic. And that's one of the biggest things, along with accommodation, that I think that is finding the right place to buy your tickets at the right price. And also, I know during pandemic, a lot of us bought tickets and then couldn't go. We've all sort of been in that situation where it's like, okay, and I think we had 14-day tickets with attraction tickets, and we were able to get a refund during that, and or a voucher so we could use at a future option.
Time. And that Disney ticket does include the memory maker as well, which is worth about $200.
Yeah.
And it includes that's the equivalent of what used to be the ultimate ticket, isn't it? So it includes your mini golf, your water parks, your memory maker, all 4 main theme parks, you name it, it includes it. And also, I think with attraction tickets, you get some freebies as well, don't you? You get a Dine for Less card, you get a Kids Go Free card.
There's a couple of other offers that I think are on, but they've just said for 2023 tickets. So whether they change for next year or not.
They were also this year for 2023 they were giving away red magic bands, weren't they?
Yeah.
Excellent. So there are offers and deals.
Yeah. It's looking around and just make sure you get the right one.
Yeah, Universal have been advertising attraction tickets.
They have,
as an affiliate on the television.
Yes, they have.
They're their partner now for booking through. So if you go to Universal's website to book, it takes you to attraction tickets.
Cool.
So we've got tickets, we've got transport, accommodation, and flights. We're now to talk about one of our favourite topics. So we have a few must-dos.
We didn't bother with a full 14-day list.
Nope.
We'll be here for hours if we do that.
Exactly. So
we'll save that for a future vlog or video. But we had to book our must-do breakfast, which is at the Grand Floridian Cafe. It's just something. It doesn't matter where we stay, every trip.
Yeah, breakfast at Grand Floridian Cafe. We always go there.
Yeah. Followed by Steakhouse 71, which is always on our list. Before it was the Wave, now it's Steakhouse. I don't think we could ever have a trip, even if it's not booking it, but we'd go to the Steakhouse 71 lounge, just so you could walk up, grab that burger. That's my go-to.
I was going to say that's your go-to. That's what you'd go with. And the other one that we tend to always do is Tully Canteen as well. And as we're there at that time of year, we'll probably do the Festival of the Arts booths. I say we'll probably do, like we're actually going on this trip. If we were actually going on this trip, we'd put some money on a gift card and do some of the festival booths as well.
I have to admit, this show might cost us.
I'm beginning to think that myself.
Yeah.
Maybe we need an alert, a bit of an alert at the bottom of the screen for people who are watching, and maybe at the beginning of the podcast. Beware, everything that we talk about will inevitably. It's not even may. It will cost you a bit more.
And we are taking no responsibility for you spending extra on your trip.
No.
Or booking another one.
But when you do, get the Waffler's arms and share some of your photos with us, because we love to see them as well. But that's cool. That sounding like a that actually sounds quite an interesting trip, that, Ben.
I just worked out we haven't added up the total.
We haven't added up the total. Just going to say what's the total.
Well, mostly I think because we haven't decided which one whether we would go economy or premium.
Give me a second, let me grab my calculator. I'll let you choose whether we're going economy or
We're
premium.
going premium. Why not?
Okay.
This is supposed to be a dream trip, okay?
Yeah. What was that? 2745 for the accommodation.
Yeah.
150 plus 30.
Could do it on a musical interlude.
Yes. This is live maths, people.
Bear a calculator.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, this looks terrible.
Oh dear.
It's not that bad.
6,484.
Okay.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Do you know what? No, but actually,
Especially as if we were going to be doing this, we'd be paying with our points. So that's less than another 2,000 off.
So if
and we'll probably also be going on economy.
If you're lucky to be a DVC member, it would actually only cost 4,172. So
Okay.
that makes sense.
Wow.
Not including food.
Yeah.
I did add the gift card on at the bottom, so
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not just booking 3 meals for the 2 weeks we're there.
Yeah.
And usually we'll budget.
That's definitely doing Orlando on a diet. If you're eating 3 times.
When we go, we tend to budget about $100 a day for food
Yeah, per person per day.
per person. Well, it's even per person,
Depends on where we eat.
Yeah.
depending on where we eat.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, it's between the two of us.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
That's really made me want to book now.
We are in 2
Already.
weeks.
I know. We've actually 1 week.
A week from
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 weeks from recording. A week from
This time next week we will be in Walt Disney World.
flying.
Right.
So
Yeah.
keep a watch on all our socials, because I know what Ben and Becca are like. So if you follow us on
yeah.
Instagram,
It gets a bit
you're
boring.
just like,
Yeah.
the great
I've decided what I'd
Great
like.
British Mickey Waffle have gone
You can't
live.
stop them.
They've gone live from Magic
We
Kingdom.
keep telling them, don't
we will.
bother. It's boring.
Enjoy your holiday.
And yet, there they are.
Oh, we're gonna enjoy our holiday, but we're gonna make you all jealous as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing as well, though,
Yeah.
when you get to the airport,
I just think we should do the Wild Africa Trek live.
Oh,
I really
yeah.
think we should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you got a
Just because
GoPro?
obviously if you fall through the bridge,
yeah.
What
I
is
can
it?
hook the camera.
Did you just say I want to see if Becca falls through the bridge?
Oh my
Yes.
word!
I'm scared of heights.
Yeah, I'm so. I don't
I
know
want
whether
to
I'm
see if
dragging
Becca
the
throws
bridge or
you
not.
off the bridge.
Yeah, there's a
No.
thought.
It's
She's
all right.
going
She's on.
first.
Hey guys, it's all right. She's on a wire.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's all right,
matter.
there's a
you
net.
I
know.
thought I was going to insult.
It'll just be like tink.
I thought I was going to insult you guys as well. Yeah, but by saying, does a guy at immigration go, "Oh, it's you again"?
No, that's what happens to Claire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nothing.
that's your end of January trip.
Yep.
And we'll probably stay in that kind of winter zone, because you know, as regular listeners know, we have two wafflers who always take the weather with them, and definitely prefer the more chilly Floridian climes of the winter.
Yeah.
And so, Jill and Peter, what about you guys?
Hello.
Yes.
Our dream is a bit smaller,
Yes.
That's all right.
just a little bit.
What we did was, as regulars will probably know, we're off to Tokyo in November. And so this is, if we hadn't sunk all of our available money into that trip, what we would be booking probably right now. So we're looking at 13th to 27th of January next year.
So we can have a meet up.
And that's partly because the offers kick in on the 9th. So first thing we looked at was hotel the night before, which is a must for us. And because, spoiler, we went with BA, we are staying at Gatwick, and we're staying at the Premier Inn North standard room, which was, where are we, £65?
£65.
Yeah.
We are going by BA, as we said, because we wanted to go premium, like Ben and Becca. We wanted a little luxury. And at the time, BA was coming out cheaper for premium tickets for £1,818
That's between two of us.
between two of us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the difference between economy and premium was very small. It was less than 100 per person per leg. So we thought, what the heck?
Lounge or not to lounge, which was one of the categories we talked about having. And we said that we probably wouldn't have enough time for a lounge. So we grab an Eggs Benedict somewhere and do a bit of shopping and then just jump on the plane.
Yeah.
There's always time for a lounge, Peter.
And unless you're running that late,
Yeah.
Never run that late.
Well, we always find by the time you've got through security, you've only got an hour, really. And I suppose if you get the lounge for free, that's fine. If you're paying
what time
for
do you
it.
turn up, Jill?
We turned up 2 hours
So-
before.
You're doing
Also, slight tip.
2 hours.
I can't
Oh,
believe
yeah.
I'm going to say this and tell everybody, but pay for the premium security. It's like £5 per
You
person.
pay as you
And
enter the
it's-
channel.
So quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It takes maybe
2
10 minutes
hours
to get through.
before. I'm
That's giving me anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm literally concerned. Right, that I can't even.
I need to be the other side 2 hours before.
At least
That's something good.
three. Just make
To be
sure.
fair, well, last
Yeah.
time we didn't have the option because our flight was 8 a.m. and the baggage drop didn't open till 5:30.
No, that's fine. That's still
So,
that's still
yeah.
2.5 hours. Joe.
We-
2.5 hours.
Yeah, but we were actually at the bag drop long before any staff turned
Yeah,
up
that's how I like it.
Yes.
and waiting half an hour for staff to turn up. So yeah.
I find that just
Anyway, so we
just calms you
decided that,
down a bit though. You know when you're there before the staff actually start.
Get rid of the
I just
bags.
say, okay, I know my
And
bags
just
are
get rid
going
of
to
your
go quite
bags,
quick.
and then your holidays start. Right.
Yeah.
Next stop.
Bags
So-
gone, holiday starts.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all good.
Yes. So then we were looking at accommodation. Now, normally we would do Universal and Disney, but we've decided on this occasion, because 2025 Epic Universe opens, that we would leave Universal for a future trip. And because we didn't get to do half of what we wanted to do on our last trip to Walt Disney World, we would concentrate just on Walt Disney World this time. So we looked at the place that we fell in love with last time, which is Port Orleans French Quarter, Garden View Room. And the price for 14 nights was...
3,458.
Okay.
That's good. And we got the magic tickets, like everybody else is going to get, which includes photo pass and all the sort of thing. And that was 5,300 and...
No,
5,039 per adult.
539. Even.
Sorry, 539 even.
Yes.
I'm
Hopefully
dyslexic.
That sounds a bit more.
Very
That sounds a bit more
I was
like
going to say,
it.
is that the price
Yes.
of treating the room?
539 per adult.
You should have been here when we were recording the Disney 100 and we ended up with 20 leagues under the sea half the time. So, anyway, that price includes dining credit of $1,008 per room, and it also includes a Disney gift card of $200.
And comes to 6,419 thus far.
So, transfers, we decided to go with Sunshine Flyers that we did last time. Round trip is $19.50 per person. So that is $39 total. Quite often they have offers. So you never know. Nearer the time, there might be an offer on that.
And they have an indoor seating area now,
Yes.
which they didn't have last time we
Don't
went.
have to be out in the heat like we were last time.
Or the cold depends on what time you go.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
coming here. And but we didn't get a paper hat last time
No, they're only
give out
giving paper hats to
to
the
the
kids.
kids.
It's a swizz.
Well,
You
I
get
feel like I
paper
missed something.
engine. Well,
You get a little engine driver hat.
well,
The
the
clue's
the
there,
buses,
though, isn't
Sunshine
it? Is
Flyers.
it like paper hats to the kids? Not
Yeah.
to the,
Yeah, I
not to
know,
the
but-
adults. That's
yeah.
I'm sure it's at best.
Do you ask for the dentist?
If they give you some paper, you could do some origami and make your own.
As I say, do you ask for the dentist for a sticker as well, Peter? Is that,
No, not
Lollipop.
quite. No.
you know?
Sunshine Flyers coaches are decked out like trains.
Old-fashioned trains, yeah.
So the drivers often wear old-fashioned train drivers' gear, and they give the trains kids drivers' hats.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If anyone's
Cool.
listening and has used them, and you had kids and you got the hat, please send one to Peter. He'll feel a whole lot better about
Just
the
post
whole
a picture to make him
experience.
jealous.
I think next week we
And-
pop by Sunshine Flyer and just see
Yes.
if we can grab that hat.
Give him a hat.
Yeah.
We're not riding on this bus, but
One good thing that we can tell you that we discovered by accident and not entirely in a good way is that even though you tell them what time you're arriving, you don't have to go on a specific coach.
Okay.
That both ways, you can just go on the next one that turns up. Because
They'll call
we
you,
ended
yeah.
up going home on a coach that was earlier than the one we expected to, which was not entirely to my liking.
It's never good going on.
Oh, no. Well, also, I was in the middle of trying to get us some nice cold drinks
Oh,
with our
dear.
refillable mugs. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to use Uber and Lyft or Lyft. We used Lyft pretty much all the time last time. It was
Yeah, they
fine.
were fine.
The one thing we learned was do not make your Lyft call until you are at the place where you want to be picked up. because they can get there quicker than you can.
Yeah.
We were at the outlet
Yeah.
and we saw him driving away.
Yep.
We waved at him.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
get charged.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
you do,
yes. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Would recommend with both apps now you can schedule rides. We did it for Christmas morning. So the
Right,
night
okay.
before we thought, oh, is this going to be busy? We're going to the boardwalk for breakfast. So we decided the night before. It costs, I think, an extra $5 than normal. But I thought, for that, just peace of mind.
Yeah.
We know we're going to get to our
Yeah.
Yeah.
reservation.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, you can on the app change and go, no, I want one later or thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those, it all depends on have you got data, have you got Wi-Fi, and
Yeah.
staying
Yeah.
connected and
They
what
have
availability
as
they
well.
have as well. Sometimes you can be waiting 15, 20 minutes for one, but sometimes they could be there waiting already. And if,
Yeah.
like we found out we were at Universal last year when we had to get to Epcot very quickly. If you order it while you're at the other side of the park,
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
wait for you.
they might always. To be honest, I thought he was going to go.
Yeah.
We literally had like
He didn't
30
wait for
seconds
it.
to spare.
No. So anyway, food. We will have the dining credit. So that's just over $1,000. And we'll have the $200 gift card, which could be used for food. Whether we would consider adding on the Disney dining plan when it becomes available very much depends on how much it ends up costing. We've paid for it before and we've made it work. And yes, we're in the minority, but we've done lots of signature meals. We've done all the snacks at food and wine stalls. So we have used every single credit both times we've used it. So it would probably be worth it, but it very much depends on how much it costs.
I'm looking
If
forward
we-
to doing the sums when it comes
Yeah,
out, because it's
if
one
we
of those
did-
things, it's-
If we did and we still had the dining credit as well, that dining credit can be used for merch. It can also be used for tips. It can be used for drinks. So, a couple of nights of cocktails and all your gratuities and some nice merch to take home. I could power through $1,000 pretty easily.
Very easily, yeah. And that's about it. So,
Yeah.
our dream is a reasonable dream, but
Yeah.
we are going Premier because I do like premium. I do like premium.
And I like that you're staying at one of our favourite hotels the night before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Gatwick North.
we didn't even think about the hotel the night before and
I think
a lounge at the airport.
I think depending on the time of the flight, I think we might just drive up there. But it all depends on,
Yeah.
because I know Virgin have started doing later flights.
Right.
So I
Yes,
think
they have.
They're
Yeah.
either like 1:00 or
Yeah.
they're doing
Yeah.
like 11:40 or like 4:00. So it depends on which one we're going. Sometimes it's not worth it the night before.
Mm.
We've done a 1:00 flight before.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
It wasn't great.
It
It,
wasn't
it meant
great.
arriving at 10 p.m. It meant arriving into our resort at 10
I think
p.m.
the
Bleary-eyed.
problem now is that most of those direct Virgin flights are in the afternoon, and it does give you, coming from the north and driving down to either Heathrow or Gatwick and being on an afternoon flight, you still need that night before, because there is no way that you want to be in a
No.
car,
Yeah.
having left home at maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, and then finding that the M1's shut or there's an accident on the M25.
Yeah.
It is, like we said, it's that peace of
It's
mind.
that peace of mind.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's worth the expense. If you go to Heathrow, there's sometimes you can get your parking included with your hotel, which really does make a difference. If you go to Gatwick, the Premier Inn where you've got booked there actually has a very, very good reputation, and I think it is a lot of people's place of choice before they get on a flight the night before. So
Yeah.
it's definitely worth thinking.
And if it's a later flight, you've got more time to spend in that lounge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. If it was a later flight, then we probably would book a lounge.
Yeah.
As I say, last time our flight was 8 a.m., which meant we landed at 1 p.m., which was wonderful.
That's pretty good.
Loved it.
isn't
It's a really nice.
That's really
nice
good.
landing.
Loved that. Yeah. Yeah.
You felt the heat when you walked out, though, even in September.
November.
November even, yeah.
It's Florida. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Just don't do what we did in London on, was it Christmas Day?
Yeah.
Yes.
And never got out of an airport and gone, oh, it's cold, I'm going back inside the airport.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like landing, it was 2 degrees outside.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It was hotter than when I flew to India.
Is it?
You know what I mean?
Ben
It really
was at that thought of, oh dear, we'll have to winter coat in the boot of the car back in London. It's just like,
No, we were wearing.
Oh, there you
we
go,
were
I'm
aware it
sorry
was going to
then.
be cold the first
There'd be
few
nothing
days.
worse.
So I was like, we'll
Yeah.
wear
There'd be
coats.
nothing worse than turning up and having to
brought
buy
new.
winter clothes in Florida.
Yeah.
It was a thing we
Yep,
had to
he did.
pack
Yeah.
everything
Oh, I've
because
done
it
that
was
before.
2 degrees at the beginning of the week, and
Yeah.
then by the end of the week it was 28
Yeah.
degrees. So we'd literally gone from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
There we
No,
go.
we went to, if you remember, Elemental at Universal ski wear.
Basically, where Voodoo Donuts is now.
Yeah, we got a big, thick winter jacket for Peter there.
A proper ski
Yeah,
warm jacket. Yeah.
yeah.
Are you planning your next holiday? Look no further than attractiontickets.com. They offer a wide range of park tickets from Disney, Universal, SeaWorld and more. Why choose attractiontickets.com? Here's why we use them at the Great British Mickey Waffle. So they offer the best prices guaranteed, gate-ready tickets, free delivery, and also offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So to book your tickets, click on the link in the description or head to gbmickeywaffle.com/support.
Right, Claire, come on, entertain me. I am so looking forward to this. This is just
Oh,
this
my
is one
life.
of them, right? And I'm not I'm not even going to say I'm not even going to say a word when you break all the rules. Go on.
Do you know what? I'm not necessarily going to break rules. I might break my bank account, but
You're going to rewrite the rules. That's
Bend
maybe
and
what
twist
it is.
every so slightly.
Yeah. So I have priced up a trip similar to the one that we are doing this summer. So I priced it against August prices because that's when we choose to go.
Yeah.
Unlike Ben and Becca and Peter and Jill, we are unfortunately restricted by school holiday dates,
Yeah.
as I'm sure many of our listeners are. And actually, we are quite lucky in terms of the fact that Millie has a very long school holiday in the summer. However, we could go at the beginning of July and her not miss school, but that is when all the American schools are on vacation.
Yeah.
So we choose to wait until, well, there's a number of reasons we choose to wait until the end of August. So the trip that I priced up is similar to the trip we're doing this year. As I said, it's 19 nights, not quite the full 3 weeks. And it's towards the end of August into the beginning of September. And we choose those times of the year usually because of the fact that it's a little bit quieter because many of the American schools go back to school the third week of August.
Yeah.
And also flights tend to be a little bit more flexible in terms of we can fly on a Sunday, come back on a Monday. Saturday flights through the summer period tend to be a premium, just like if you were to go at Easter and you book on the Saturday, it's going to be more expensive than if you were to fly on a Friday or a Sunday. Fun fact for everyone, if you're flying transatlantic, the cheapest day to book your flight the cheapest day to travel is a Tuesday on the way into America. But we actually, the flights I've booked, priced up are flying on a flying out on a Wednesday and back 18 nights later on an overnight on a Sunday, so arriving back in the UK on a Monday morning. I haven't added in going to the Premier Inn at Gatwick the night before because, quite frankly, when I added up the cost, I was like, it's barely worth adding that in because it's incidental in the big grand scheme of things.
Also,
So that gives-
it's not that far to travel.
Exactly,
as well,
and so
it's-
we choose to fly BA most of the time. We did fly Virgin in March, and that was because we had vouchers left from COVID. But generally choose to fly BA, partly because they're from Gatwick, so that's closer to us at home, and partly because I'm a BA Silver member, so we get the benefits of free seat selection, and we get maximum luggage for everyone in the party. So we get 2 32-kilo bags for everyone, just because me is a Silver member. So, and we get me and a friend get into the lounge. And we have an argument about that at the airport. But this particular trip, So the flights that I've booked, so we have 3 adults and a child. So Millie is 10, so she still counts as a child, but Dan, Morgan and I are all obviously adults. And the flights that we're taking are, so I originally booked economy. I always do. I book economy in the sale, usually in the October, the year before. Exactly what I did last year. I booked economy. And then probably around February, March time, I will have a conversation with BA to see what the upgrade prices are. And weirdly, this time, I did buy some upgrades for the flights in both directions. But it was cheaper to fly out to Orlando. So we're flying London Gatwick to Tampa. Sorry, I should have said that before. Always fly to Tampa because we prefer that as a route. Prefer Tampa Airport. We've covered that in many podcasts before. It's a fly drive, so it's a flight and car package. And one of the benefits to that is that you can pay a deposit on booking and then fiddle around with the price and then just pay the balance. So you don't have to pay for the flights outright when you book them. Which is quite nice. If the flight price changes, you're able to flex and change that. So you can either upgrade or downgrade if you wanted to. So the flights are booked are actually going out club, so business class on the way out and premium on the way back. And that is for 18 nights with a large car. So I think it's a Chrysler Voyager / town and country. So the ridiculous 7-seater car, which we don't need. Other than because we've got all the extra luggage. And then when we get to Orlando, actually, we have family and friends there. So actually having a 7-seater car is quite useful. So for...
You can fill it up when you go to Walmart.
Right, it's so much easier. But obviously flying into Tampa, we do need to have a car because we're not going to pay for it. It's just easier. We're there for so long that it makes it much, much more simple. So the flight prices for us, for the 4 of us, to fly out club, back premium and a car for 18 nights was £6,255. So that, if you compare that to the economy price, it's, John's face. See, this is where we start the conversation, John.
And this is where one of us is like, how much was our total?
Right.
And
But
that
is only 2.
Yeah.
But then there's only 2 of us.
Right. So if you were to double
it's
it,
half the amount.
Yes. Now, as regular listeners know, we choose to stay off site.
Are you sleeping in the car, Claire? That was what I was just about to say.
That's a Monday.
So I have only just started. So we have a villa booked in Indian Creek, which is just south of the 192. It is a villa community, which is I did time it one day. I think it was like 7 minutes 20 seconds from the villa. The villa that we're staying in is like about two doors up from one that we stayed in before. It was like 7 minutes and 20 seconds from the driveway to the parking lot of Animal Kingdom. So by cutting up the side roads and down Fooney Steed Road and up Sherburth and all of those little sneaky side roads that if you know them, you know them. So it's very close. And that for me is I'm happy to pay a premium for a villa if it means that we are location within a very close distance. So the only villa communities that I really look at are things like Formosa Gardens, Indian Creek, Indian Ridge, and Windsor Hills. There are thousands of others.
Sunset Lakes as well around there is very good.
And Emerald Isle as well is very close.
Yeah.
But those places for me are my preference.
Yeah.
I would rather be close rather than cheap. So I'm happy that we pay a bit more to be that close. So we have a 5-bedroom villa because my brother and his family are coming and staying with us. So we need 5 bedrooms. For 18 nights, and we are paying £4,200 for the villa for 18 nighs.
Very good.
So if you were to split that between, how many of us is there? 8 people. That gives you per person head. I can see that. Just saying, we actually aren't paying for the villa this time because we have vouchers left from COVID from a cancelled trip that have to be used by the end of this year. So actually, we haven't had to pay that out for the villa, but that's what it would cost. That's without pool heating. It's without the barbecue rental. So let me talk tickets. Now, we're there for a long time. Much like you, Ben and Becca, we decided that this time we're going to do Universal because we haven't been to Universal since Millie was a baby. She's a big Harry Potter nerd, as is Morgan. So we decided we're going to fork out for the combo tickets, again, through attraction tickets, because just like you, we had tickets that we weren't able to use during COVID, and we did pay for the Flex Pass guarantee on the tickets. And I think for these particular combo tickets, it's 15 quid extra on top of the price of the ticket. But you are guaranteed a full refund. And I think we had 4 sets of tickets that during COVID, we had total refund. Whereas I know people who booked through Disney and the tickets, they got nothing back. So for peace of mind, I did go through our affiliate link on the gbmickeywaffle.com/support, and you can click on attraction tickets and you'll go through there and you can book them that way. Just as a top tip. So 4 sets of combo tickets, as Ben and Becca have already mentioned, were £833 each, I think, something ridiculous like that. So it's £3,416 for our park tickets. Ouch. I agree, those have gone up significantly in the last few years. So that was a bit of a gulp moment, but...
Yeah, when I look back to our trip in like 2016, I think just the Disney tickets were like £260.
Yeah.
And
this is it. And
179.
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, Millie is 10, so she counts as an adult. I know there's not a huge amount of difference. It's like 20-30 quid difference, but it, when you're looking at a family, then the prices do rack up. And because we're going to Universal, we've actually decided to do one night overnight at the Hard Rock Hotel. Now, I know we've talked about doing this before, but I wanted to break it down for people. So we're spending one night at Hard Rock Hotel. It's costing us £590 for the night.
Yeah.
So when Ben and Becca said that their endless summer was that price,
I actually did something very similar, Claire. I was thinking, well, that's not happening for me, but when they mentioned about that mention of was it endless summer was just like, ooh, hang on.
Yeah, £433.
So there is a reason.
Ours doesn't include the
and that's
so there is a reason why.
Yeah.
So we chose the Hard Rock Hotel partly because it's a 2-minute walk to Universal, and because for each person who's staying, you get the front of the line pass, the express pass, per person per day. Now, let's just check the price of those. It's $133 per person per day for the express pass, which is $1,064 total if you had it for 2 days. Now we're
is that the unlimited?
Yes,
because there's 2 kinds of express passes.
Yep. So that's the one that you would get if you were staying at the hotel.
Yeah.
So the fact that the hotel is costing us £590 for the night means that we are still saving £532.
Yeah.
That's how my brain is working on this. Go with me.
It's a no-brainer.
And I get it.
Absolutely.
If you were going to buy the express pass, it is absolutely worth your money.
Yeah.
It's half the price to stay overnight at the hotel and get the early entry. Yes, you have to pay your parking. I haven't counted that in. But so there is a saving to be made. If you're going to get the express passes, go and stay overnight. And if you want to book it through something like Booking.com, Expedia, you can even use things like your Tesco Club Card vouchers if you're in the UK, or there are all sorts of voucher schemes that you can utilise to pay for part of your hotel. So please don't pay for the express passes out of pocket without staying on site, because I promise you it's cheaper, especially if there's more than 2 of you in the hotel room. Anyway,
it also it's worth also
whether you actually need the passes. Because
this is it.
It's one of those. If you've got a hotel with early entry, we've never had express passes on that all the times we've been to Universal.
Yeah, we have. For exactly that reason, because we're only going to be there.
We've had it once because we were gifted them because of a customer service incident,
right?
And we used it on the day that it was the quietest day ever. We used it in front of Ryan. It was just one day we thought it was going to be busy, but you don't know.
So for us, we've decided
it's
worth
summer
it
as well.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Middle
Well,
of summer definitely worth it.
For us,
End of
because of
January,
when...
probably
Yeah.
not.
For us, because of when we went last time, because it was actually over Veterans Day and weekend and at the end of a tropical storm,
When it was, it would have
the
been
place
chock a
was
block,
absolutely swamped.
So
But
it depends
one
when you're
thing I
going.
will
It depends
say-
what your preference is.
Yeah.
And it depends whether you want to stand in a line for longer than 20 minutes or not. For us, the express passes are worth it for us as a family because we want to do some of the, things like, Forbidden Journey and, Gringotts and all of that stuff. So that Millie's not done any of them. So
Hagrid's isn't on the
it's not Hagrid's isn't part of it, and Sinbad's gone. So, but we will make it work for us.
Because they're using Sinbad
Yeah.
for the queue for Hagrid's.
Exactly.
Now,
But
one thing I will say though is that people might not know this, but you get 2 days of early entry. So on your arrival day, even though it will say on your paperwork, you can check in from 3 p.m.
Yeah.
That's rubbish.
Get there early.
You can check in at 6 o'clock in the morning if you want. You can't necessarily get your room, and you might have to leave your luggage in with concierge, but we can check
or
in.
we leave it in our car.
Yeah.
To be honest with
Yeah.
you, we
Yeah.
take all the valuables with us and leave it in the car. Now, because we're going in August, obviously we're going to do Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party
Obviously.
because that's what you do in August.
Halloween in
Disney.
August, why not?
And we. Right, who wants to be dressed in a costume when it's the surface of the sun in temperature? That'll be us. So we have Halloween park tickets booked again through Attraction Tickets because there was a bit of discount when they first came out. I think we got 5% discount, and they're only costing us £100 each. £100, yeah,
Wow.
£100 each. So the four of us, it's £400 for the Mickey's Not So Scary. We like the Halloween party. It's a lot of fun for us. So that's another £400 that we're adding on top. And while we're at it, let's talk some dining.
Yeah.
So I haven't added much dining, but I wanted to show the spread of the dining that we will be doing. So I did add what I would suggest is probably one of our must-do meals, which is at the Boathouse. And I went through the menu and I added in some oysters, the duo dips, a carpaccio, because Morgan always has to have the carpaccio, firecracker shrimp, 3 steaks, because Millie has to have a steak, Dan and Morg have a steak, I would have probably the mahi tacos, mac and cheese, truffle fries, a couple of duck raz. Comes out roughly around $300 for dinner, plus tip.
Okay.
So, that would be probably one of the more expensive meals that we would have, but we would definitely do Boathouse for dinner one night and have got it booked already, just saying. But on the other end of the spectrum, because we're staying off site, we do have some flexibility in other eating. So I costed up Chewy's, which is regulars to the podcast know is my favourite restaurant, more than the Boathouse. It is off site. It's on the 192. It's Tex-Mex. Their strapline is burritos as big as yo face, and they have all the photos of the dead dogs on the wall. But if you go back and listen to the dining shows, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I added up the fact that you go in and you get free chips and salsa. That's number one. So you don't have to pay for them. And they just keep bringing them, and it's really good. Queso, $10. And then a combo fajitas for Morgan, a comida deluxe for Dan, vegetable enchiladas for me, a kid's meal for Millie, because she always chooses the same thing there every time. A tres leches cake to take away, and then a couple of beers and sodas is coming in at about $75. So
Wow.
in UK money, 58 quid, right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
And there is more
For a family of
food
4.
than you can possibly eat. And the flour tortillas are cooked there in front of you by someone on a skillet. So
It's
Wow.
amazing to know that that's like a quarter of the price of
right,
I think that's
different experience.
exactly it.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
and
yeah.
if you're very much in the Disney bubble and you're prepared to pay Disney prices, fair enough. There is much better value to be had off-site.
Yeah.
And that's and really, Claire, I think that kind of epitomizes certainly where I'm going to go with this, but also the fact that if there is real value to be actually had for some quality food.
You don't. And So this is the thing. Chewy's is for us. It's a must do. We go at least twice. I expect while we're there for 3 weeks, we'll probably go 3 or 4 times. Yeah. It's a really fun family atmosphere. It's easy food. It's not. They have this whole array of spicy sauces from a tomatillo right through to a green hatch chili, which is incredible. It's not scary Tex-Mex. It's really accessible and so well priced. So I'll be honest with you, the tres leches is huge, and we always get it to go because there is so much food that we've eaten. We just can't finish it every time. So for that price, you are getting more food than you can possibly eat. I also costed up a Miller's Ale House meal, which was coming out at around $95. So not a lot more. And then I costed up Olive Garden, which was a little bit more because obviously you've got to have more breadsticks. And that was about 110. And I costed up an Olive Garden to go because quite often we will do that. If we're staying in a villa, we'll order and go pick up and bring it back to the villa. And I always make an error and order extra breadsticks on top of the extra breadsticks. I think last time we had like 24, and I ended up putting them in the freezer in the villa because we had so many. I completely cocked
carb overload.
Right.
I'm just looking at these now.
They are very good.
Yeah.
And that was about $120 for the takeaway, and that was for 4 of us, and that would probably have done dinner and breakfast / lunch the next day as well. So they do some really good deals, particularly across August, because they tend to do buy one take one. So you could order a main course and get one to take home with you. So if you're trying to economise and you want to spend some time in your villa eating, then there are options in terms of takeout stuff as well. I did add in Tusker House breakfast because that is our first morning breakfast always, and because Millie's an adult, it's 4 lots of $45, so it's $145 $180 for breakfast for us, but that is something that we will absolutely do. So what you might have gathered is that I took a sharp intake of breath when I added all of this together.
Did the calculator close?
And I'm going to say
calculator closed down.
It just went
I decided to stop using the calculator, turn it over the other way around, and start writing new words with it instead. It was far better. But so for 3 weeks for 4 people that all count as adults, other than on the flight, and the price difference for Millie's flight is not a huge amount, particularly if you're flying something other than economy. I'm going to say it quickly and quietly: just over £15,000. So it's a lot of money, but I don't think that if you were to multiply other people's trips by double,
I think that's where I'm leading as well with this, Claire. I think as well. I think that's where if we actually do the maths on it, and you look at the per person spend, it's very similar, and I think that's the key. And I think actually what you've actually costed out there is actually very realistic.
And this is the thing. I wasn't going to lie about it. I could have given you fudge numbers about economy flights. We're not going to take economy flights, so why would I tell that?
I think,
guys, keep listening. I'm going economy. Just saying, like
John's rowing his way across the Atlantic.
What we should do at the end of the show, what we'll do, we'll put. If you're watching on YouTube, and we'll
whose trip would you rather do?
Well, yeah. What we'll also do is we'll post up the costings so you can see per person. We can calculate and work out, so you can see whether what options that there are available for you.
And I think do you know what? I'm not ashamed to say that that's costing us a lot of money. I think that the purpose of us doing this podcast not only is to give advice and to be supportive and to talk about the stuff we love, but it's also be transparent and honest about how much some of this costs. Yeah. And I'm not shying away from. I know I said it quietly and quickly, but everyone heard. And I've tried to give that span of, there are expensive meals, but we balance that with having a meal at Chewy's or at Miller's.
Yeah.
We don't eat at the boathouse every night because, let's face it, no one can afford to do that. That's ridiculous.
That's an awful lot of food as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you want to be eating signature meals every
and
single
during
night of your trip?
No. And we do signature. We will probably go to Citrico's. We might go to Narcoseas, but we will then on other nights have a takeaway. We might have a Domino's. So it's not that we're doing that every night. And I just wanted to bring some perspective to the fact, I know we all joke about the fact that we're not flying economy, but actually there's nothing wrong with having a barbecue at your villa with a couple of beers from Publix.
Claire,
and some sandwiches.
Can I add into that? Because actually I think that's one thing, I don't think we've actually said this enough as a podcast, is the fact that if you are staying off-site, you are much more in control of your food spending than you are if you're on site.
Totally.
What you also are able to do, and I know you slagged me off about it in the past, but you can actually, believe it or not, that lovely kitchen that's in the villa. You can actually cook your own.
We do that.
You can go to Publix.
We don't cook dinner.
We do.
We don't cook dinner, but we might buy some. We might, if we were there at lunchtime, we absolutely might grab a Taco Bell and a salad.
But it really cuts down on your cost. It cuts down massively on your costs as well, though.
And buying the beers in the supermarket, whether that be Publix, Walmart, wherever, you can buy an 8-pack of Longboard or go and buy some Land Shark, and it isn't as expensive as going and buying beer by beer by beer in a bar on site. So I think it swings and roundabouts. It's what works for you. For us, a villa is always going to be the premium option for space, for mix of rooms, and the fact that actually this time we're going to be sharing it with my brother and his family. So my cousin and her husband are going to be there at their house down the road. So we will spread the load.
No, I can see that.
I
can totally understand that.
So it's a very different kind of trip, and it's a much longer trip. But, I think if you were to break it down person by person, the price may not be that different.
No.
It just feels more because it's 4 people.
Yeah. I think that's
also,
really
you're
good.
getting a much longer trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you know something, Jill? That's a perfect segue into me.
Because talking of long trips, is that just a description, or is that the length of time?
No, because actually, I'm going to put my cards on the table. I've planned a 4-week trip. Now, my thinking behind that is if you're paying so much for flights, then you might as well stay as long as you possibly can. And that has always been the thing that we've really sort of massively gone into. If you go in August, my plan was thrown completely askew, I think is probably the better way of describing it, because at the moment, this is too late for me to be booking for August 2023, but it's too early to be looking at flights for 2024. So I thought, well, I'll look for this August, because actually that would be, keeping within the rules of the game. That would be a way of doing it. Normally, I would go on cost, and cost is a massive determiner for me. Hence the reason I'll always go economy, because we're all going to the same place. And for 8 or 9 hours, I could quite gladly save myself quite a few quid just by sitting in the cheap seats and actually dealing with that. I'd much rather spend what I save on stuff when we get there. But that's just me. However, for this August, I was absolutely astounded at some of the prices that were coming up for flights. And that was both, especially indirect, because what was happening was, because normally I would start looking maybe September, October time, I would look for maybe glitches in certain airline systems and look for a really bargainous price. It's too late. Just now, everyone's booked up. Everyone's into that bit. So what I was completely taken aback was that from Manchester for this August, you can actually fly direct into MCO, and it's with Aer Lingus. Now, the price of that was about £800 a head. Now, that is, again, pushing the budget, but I actually felt as a flight price, it's Ben and Becca, I think it was the same flight that you took away back on your Christmas trip. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking to go direct into MCO, I think would be an absolute. It appears a bargain at the moment at 800. If you're going from Heathrow to Miami in August, on the 1st of August, you're looking at 761. If you were trying even via JFK from Heathrow using American Airlines, it was £757. So the saving there by us not going down to Heathrow was absolutely massive. And I thought, well, I'll tell you what, let's have a little look at what Gatwick has to offer, because TUI fly direct into Melbourne, but I wasn't able to compare because actually they'd sold out their complete allocation for August, which I thought was a really unfair thing, because I'd be interested in that, because that would suit me going into Melbourne, simply because it would actually lead you to go to somewhere like St. Augustine on the east coast of America. And the plan for us would be to go maybe to the beach for possibly the first 5 days. It's just that chill out time before madness of the parks. But the next thing was I then stumbled across, well, let's have a look at how much the car will cost. Now, at the moment, it appears that MCO, Orlando Airport is expensive massively for your car hire. And even with BA going on a fly drive with them, it was, and they used, bizarrely, they were using the same Aer Lingus flights. They were looking for a massive cost for 4 weeks of car hire. Now, if you go and you check out one of the online brokers, and I think it was Wise Cars, who actually still use Avis and Dollar and this, that, and the other, that cost reduced by £2,000, which I felt was bizarre, because when you're part of a car hire, sort of loyalty system, you're thinking, oh, I might get a decent price. You're not. Shop around, shop as far as you can. That Wise Cars thing was found via Skyscanner, which again, just like there's loads of different price checkers you can actually use, but to begin to start saving that just on car hire, and like I say, Orlando is really, at the moment, I'm reading things that they're warning people, even if you live in Orlando, that the car parking is at a premium at the moment. There's not enough spaces. There's not enough cars. And so, again, I think if you're looking a little bit wider, and you can actually look at Tampa, you might get a much better price for your car hire. It's worth looking into that before you even begin. And like I said, to begin with, if you're booking for August, generally September, October, November time is when I'd choose to do it. Certainly not in May, planning for this August. It's way too late. However, the supply and demand sort of works at that. So, sharp intake of breath. You're going to pay an absolute fortune for your car hire. However, we did save we saved massively on that, and it was just like it kind of works. It works out. So,
can I ask a question? Because obviously we've talked about this before, where you've used Uber from a villa in Champions Gate, and you think that's worth going for 4 weeks and potentially flying into Tampa or even Melbourne. Do you still think that even if the car hire is expensive, it's worth it?
Yeah, I do, because I think for for us, and because we want to go to the beach, because we probably will probably have a night at the baseball. We want that freedom to actually go and be able to go and do stuff. So for us, car hire is an absolute must do. And you'll pay for the parking, you'll pay for whatever, but do you know something? It's worth it. And actually,
I'll be honest with you,
like this actually. Because for some of the tickets you can upgrade to annual passes, but if you just upgrade one of them, you can get your parking included, and it's just
that's probably what we're going to do.
And
Just
that's
saying.
what a lot of us, and that's what I think we've covered a lot on the podcast the past 4 years, how we've been able to hopefully give everyone tips and tricks on how to make, because we know going to Disney isn't cheap. It's not a cheap holiday. Going to Orlando, there's so many different parts to a holiday that the price can vary so much.
Yeah.
So there's just so many different ways. It's like we Uber because there's two of us. I wanted to hire a car, but for the cost versus everything else, adding £1,000 on for 2 weeks car hire has never worked out great for us.
Okay.
And I think that's the thing, that if you're going for a bit longer and there's more of you, not that an Uber doesn't cost any more if there's 4 of you in it than it does if there's 2 of you in it, but
If
just
you're,
But you
21
might-
if you're there for
days
2 weeks plus,
Yeah.
the likelihood of you
adding up.
wanting to spend every day on property reduces.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit that I was trying to get to, John, is that because you and I are both going for a longer trip, the freedom and flexibility to travel, to whether that be to go over to the coast, whether that's to go to a baseball game, to go to a concert, to go to a football game, whatever it is, just to be able to go out and about, down to celebration and have a meal or whatever, actually having the car, regardless of the cost, for us is an essential.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm trying to look at my notes, and I'm thinking as well that the saving on the cars about £1,000. But what I actually found was through a broker, you can actually find for 4 weeks it works out about £400 a week. It just shop around. It'll change. It changes day on day, and different companies will change depending on what the weather's doing. But again, make it suit you. So if you want a small car, which we generally don't, because actually I quite enjoy the fact that I go on holiday, I get a nice big car. But no, it's one of them things, Claire. If you're gonna drive, then you don't want to have all your cases sat on everyone's knees, because I've done that before and regretted it.
No, it's no fun, is
and
it?
you actually look a bit daft arriving.
That's not the word I was going to use.
I'm trying to be polite.
It's a different word.
And you're trying to
There's
get
two of
all
us, if
the.
we did hire a car, we could get away with a smaller one.
You can get a convertible if you want. You can get a little Mustang convertible, but
chuck cases on the
With
back
a family
seat.
of 4.
give me the Suburban and I'm happy.
Family of 4, and you've got. We've only got enough space for one case in the back. Kids,
Right.
How good are you? How good your upper knee strength in actually holding the rest of the baggage while I'll drive as quick as I can to the villa or whatever. It's one of them. Go with the space, and I think your choice as well, Claire. We're actually choosing that the 7-seater. You actually get. We generally don't go as large as that, but we do hope that we get a free upgrade. It's always out there. One of the things I would suggest, if people are planning on maybe enjoying your flight, we actually have arrived into Orlando International Airport and stayed in the airport hotel on the very first night, which is an absolutely superb thing, because it meant that you didn't pick the car up until the following morning, and actually we're planning on going to the beach for the first 5 days. So I was a bit stuck, so I did a comparison of which coast to go to. But both worked out at roughly the same price. For first 5 nights, if you go to Anna Maria Island, if you've never been to Anna Maria Island, you should go. It is the most amazing place, but don't tell everyone about it, because actually it is completely unspoiled. But if you go there, or choose to go to St. Augustine, which is extremely historical, and it's completely off the tourist map. Usually for Brits, it's just like it's completely missed. But we always try to find some accommodation. It's like self-catering, but generally always try and find a pool, because actually that's what it's quite nice. You're on your holidays, get in the pool after a long day at the beach. It's a nice way of getting rid of the sand out of the places that sand doesn't belong. But that worked out about £300 a night, so about £1,500 for the first 5 days. You can probably get it cheaper. You can probably look at maybe going to Clearwater, where there's a lot more accommodation. That's just an example. From there, we get back in the car. We head straight towards Disney. And my dream trip would have been going to the Yacht and Beach Club. But looking at the price of it, for only, and again, it'd be another 5-night stay.
Yeah.
I can't justify paying £500 a night at the Yacht and Beach Club. And without a dining, without a dining plan, and without things that we've had previously, I can't justify it. So, if you look at the Yacht Club was 2,300. If you go to Saratoga Springs or Key West, you're talking about £1,400. And so the saving for, and I love Saratoga Springs and I love Old Key West.
Yeah.
You're going to spend most of your time in the theme parks. So again, reel yourself in a little bit. Yacht and Beach Club is the most beautiful place. It would be top on my list every time. But for the current price for this August, it becomes that it's not affordable. So I'd much rather, again, save the money because you can spend it on other things that is going to plus your trip. Obviously, park tickets, I'd probably get a 14-day magic ticket, which if you're trying to just do a little bit of the maths there, it means that that's going to run out by the time your 4 weeks is up. Because previously, we did the 21-day ultimate ticket, and we always used to make that work for us. So guess what? The money I've saved on my car hire and the money I've saved on choosing just like maybe economy, or money I've saved on maybe not the accommodation that I would pay, I'd probably end up buying Universal tickets just so we had the option and we would actually be able to dip in and out of Universal as well, just because we could. So from there, bit of a Disney stay, bit of a trip to the beach. We would then use that split stay part of it. And actually, I quite enjoy this bit, Claire, because actually I know you tend to go for the villa option for the entirety. I usually enjoy going to a villa because actually it is completely switch off. You're out of the madness that is the Disney bubble, but you also have the opportunity to have a little bit of home comforts. I've got to admit, and I know we've spoken about this before, I think possibly on one of the very early podcasts, things that you look for in a villa. So for us, it has to have sun on the pool during the daytime. And I know it sounds stupid, but go to Google Maps, check out the direction of the pool, because there's nothing worse than that pool being in shade all day. We also enjoy the fact that it needs to have a heated hot tub, because day in the park, need a heated hot tub. We've started looking a little bit further away from where you kind of look at that bit on the 192. We've gone up towards Champions Gate, and I've got to admit, we found a couple of places on Lake Wilson Preserve, which were absolutely superb, but massively cheaper. You are that little bit further away from the parks, so do be warned of that. If you may be choosing to head into the parks during the morning rush hour, allow yourself an extra 10 minutes. But the saving for us, again, the saving is quite massive. Looking at a 2-week stay there is generally about the costing I got was £2,300 for a villa that will sleep. It sleeps 6. There are bigger villas, and I've got to admit, we've found bigger villas, and some with the most amazing TVs, different gadgets galore, the whole thing. You can actually just go to town. We did stay in one at one time that had its own beer keg, and you basically you had beer,
well chosen,
draft beer,
amazing,
which was amazing.
Do you know? I was going to say, John, that down by Lake Wilson Preserve, down into Champions Gate, I absolutely agree with you. The cost is significant. You know, if you're down at Legacy Park and all of that area, down towards the US 27 and Davenport, and you are going to pay less. And those villas down there, they are abundant. There are so many of them, and they sleep anything from 6 people through to 15.
Yeah.
You know, there will be a house that will suit your party, and it will be a nice one, and they are all great quality. The only thing that I would recommend is that people do use maybe Waze in terms of a sat-nav system if you're driving into the parks, because if you can do anything you possibly can to avoid the I-4
Yeah.
in the morning, or even worse is coming home between like 5 and 8 p.m. If you're on the I-4, you are going to be stationary. And that was the thing. I mean, we stayed down in Champions Gate last October, and that was the most frustrating thing. We know the area well, so I was able to cut down all the back roads.
And even the old Lake Wilson Road
was annoying.
As well gets busy. But,
that's
an option. You know,
so that's the bit that, in terms of, you've got to suck up the traffic and give yourself a bit more time. Yeah. But you're probably paying half the price for your accommodation than you would be if you were up on the 192. Yeah. So it depends what your priority is, and I think that the choice of different styles of villa, the further away you get, is better. Yeah. So whether you want, we tend to try and choose somewhere without stairs. I don't know why. I think it goes back to when Millie was a baby and we didn't want to try to climb up and down the stairs without us knowing. But there is, actually the way it suits us as a family. There are so many choices that I think if you're prepared to take that little bit of time to travel in the morning and in the evening, absolutely agree with you. Champions Gate and the facilities down there, particularly if you want to play golf.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well, is because actually if you're at Champions Gate, it's got a massive Publix, it's got its own millers. You're very well.
It's got first watch breakfast.
You're very well. You're really well served for stuff as well. So you don't feel as if you're completely out of it. The other thing I was going to say is some of those villa resorts along the 27 and in the Champions Gate area are actually much newer as well. So what you find is some of the lessons that you learned from early developments have been learned. So you maybe get a little bit better of an outlook from your pool. They seem to be a little bit more spaced out. Maybe that's just where we found, but
the kitchens are better laid out. If you look at West Side, they're incredible. Some of those villas, they're beautiful and they're cheap.
Yeah. So that's where I was thinking. And actually, I didn't bother. I'm not bothered looking at food, parking, petrol, and the golf, because I actually tossed it up. But I tossed it up where I was at with what we've got, and then
decided not to bother
putting the universal tickets in as well. And actually, I was in a state of complete shock, because from a similar trip that we had in 2019, where we actually managed to get 10 nights at the yacht club with dining plan, we had a beautiful villa. We also went to Clearwater and stayed at the Sand Pearl, which is a massive hotel there, including tickets. We managed that trip for around about, for at least £3,000 less, including food. So we're now in the realms where you can begin to see how costs for accommodation, tickets, and all that kind of, and car hire roll up, and are making essentially making your trip that little bit more, a lot more expensive. I would also say, as research for the show, my family have actually logged onto the computer and thought, "Whoa, we're going to Disney World again," because all of the advertising and things like that. When you look at, and it's like it all pops up, and I'm like, "Oh my word!" I'm not. I'm doing research for the show, guys. We're not going. But
this would be one heck of a reveal, wouldn't it?
Just, yeah.
I wish.
But I actually think it's quite staggering, the increase. Certainly from where I'm at, it's gone from like £2,500 per head in 2019 to around about 4,500 if you include food, parking and petrol. And so that's really where you're looking at where that's changed. The other thing I would say, and I would previously never have gone down this route, and I think, Claire, you alluded to it, as regarding tickets and about how if you book a package holiday with a travel agent, you are better covered purely through what's offered there. And actually, I do enjoy a DIY trip. However, having seen how much time it took me to do this for this show, I'm just going to quick heads up to friends of the show at Portwood Travel, because actually, if you give Karen a call, she's on our website, Portwood Travel will do the donkey work for you.
They'll do it all for you. It's great.
And because it's a package, you are given a lot more protection as a consumer should things not quite go to plan. And that to me is a big difference. It's maybe something that COVID has actually pushed people again towards travel agents planning things for them rather than being on your own. And if you do DIY, if you book flights independent of hotels and hotels independent of flights, and you do it all yourself, you're not covered by the ATOL certificate that a travel agent has. And I previously hadn't taken that on board. And I think with all the restrictions and all the cancellations that have happened, it's maybe worth, if you're wanting that reassurance, a little bit of security. I know that Karen is definitely a person to talk to, and she will find you.
And Karen's like us; she knows Disney through.
Oh, just a bit.
That's the thing, isn't it?
And that's the thing, is experience of going to Disney, and there's so many different ways of booking a trip. Like we've spoken from like DVC, DIY. It's one of those things. You book the trip the way you want to. Sometimes a package can work out cheaper.
Yeah. And
absolutely,
and also especially if time is sort of valuable to you, all the time that you spend scouring Skyscanner trying to find that deal that might not actually ever appear.
I think as well, Ben, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because actually what travel agents are actually getting at the moment are access to more of the hotel room discount, more of the flight discount than you can actually find yourself. And I think there is a little bit of there's a push towards that. And that's coming from airlines, coming from hotel chains, coming from Disney, the whole lot. And I think that's the bit that we possibly, certainly I need to take on board a little bit more. But also you get that reassurance. What I wouldn't do, and again, just a little bit of a warning to put in there, if you're talking to somebody about Disney and they don't know what they're talking about, stop. Walk away and find someone at a travel agent who will be able to help. Because there's nothing worse than someone telling you, "Oh, you want to go to Disneyland in Florida." No, I want to go and they haven't got the insight and experience to actually sell you a holiday. They will be selling you something that you don't want to do. And I must admit, I've had the conversation with a guy who came to our kitchen a few years ago. I could have saved him and his family probably about £7,000 on the holiday that they booked, admittedly for a party of 6, but he got absolutely scunnered for every ticket under the sun. And the travel agent, which is a major high street travel agent, I hasten to add, must have just been rubbing the hand with glee.
Right.
Go to people who know what they're talking about, and again, Portwood Travel. I highly recommend. They've been to Disney probably as many times as all of us here as well. So they know what it is that you want out of a holiday. But like Ben said, have in mind what you want to happen. Don't have someone behind a desk trying to tell you, "Oh, you really need a ticket for Gatorland and things." I mean, if you don't want to go, don't do it. And I think that's the bit. It's your holiday, and I think we're always very big on that as a show. I think that's the key thing. And
John,
we happily recommend people that we've used before, spoken to, have got quotes, it's like attraction tickets is one that we
use them,
time
which
and
is
time
why
again.
John, there's one thing that none of us have mentioned that I think is really important that I think we take it as a bit of a given and a bit of an assumption that we all know to do it. And that is holiday insurance. None of us added that into the price of our trip.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, I can say from my point of view, I have a bank account that gives travel insurance, part of my
So do
bank
we.
account that covers my entire family. So I don't actually need to add that into my trip. But just because,
Claire,
especially
can I just butt in as well? Because actually, having had what's happened to me over the past 12 months and having cancelled like holidays, having had to deal with a travel insurance company for the first time because you're poorly and you can't go. It wasn't a Disney trip, but it was just a trip to Spain. They are, it needs to be done because actually it meant that we were actually paid back for flights and accommodation that we would never ever have had. And it is, and book your holiday insurance when you book your holiday. Don't leave it until the day before.
Don't leave it till the day before you go.
It's book your Esther's travel insurance holiday.
Which is all,
absolutely.
Can I just think, took that in as well, Ben, because Esther's, make sure you go to the official site.
$21, don't pay any more.
Don't allow yourself to be sort of Google searched out of it. Do it properly. Go to the official site because there are people out there that will fleece you. But
I just thought it was worth mentioning the travel insurance because you know, you do not know what's going to, particularly if you are going to do a DIY trip. I mean, we've talked about DIY. I think all of us have done a DIY trip in our description. And actually, because you're not covered by the ATOL certificate, because you aren't buying a package, if, for example, you were going like me in the end of August and there was a hurricane and your flight home wasn't happening or you needed to extend your stay somewhere, your travel insurance will support you with that. Or if you're sick while you're there, it happens, people. People have car accidents. You see it all the time. You need to be covered. So please,
check what your cover includes, because I know you've got it through the bank, but we found through ones that we've got through the bank doesn't always cover certain medical conditions. So you might have an additional
you have to mention them.
So do your research. Book your travel insurance and just suck it up as part of the holiday cost.
Don't scrimp and save on that one because actually,
if it costs you an extra £100 to sort your insurance out, it's much better than having
to have it
bill
and not
that's millions of pounds. Which
it's the phrase that I always. It's the phrase I use at work. It's like a commode. It's better to have it and not need it than not have it and find out you need it. You know.
Thanks for that image, Claire.
But it's so, you know, it's something so practical and
That's the tagline for tonight's show.
Right. But you know what? If you haven't got it and you need it, trust me, you will regret not paying for it. So just suck up the cost and add it onto the price of your trip.
Also, you can get insurance companies will pay the hospital or the doctors direct.
Yeah, I haven't had to use them. So I'm really, I'm so lucky that in none of our trips anywhere have we had to enact our travel insurance. And I'm touching all the wood that I can possibly find at this point in time.
And it's make sure you take the printout with you. Take it.
Carry all your phone numbers and your policy numbers in your bag.
Doesn't like printing things out, but for going on a holiday, I'll always have holiday insurance.
Everything is just all the hotel information, all the flight information
in my purse, just in case. Anyway, little practical public service announcement over.
Totally valuable, and actually having shared so many different ways of actually planning a trip. The only thing I would say is when you think you've got everything covered, go back and have a look again. And then go and book yourself a tour and go and do Keys to the Kingdom. But hey, that was another show. So if there's other bits, go back, because we've over the past few months we've covered so much planning stuff, and it really, I really hope that this birthday show has maybe just given someone at home the opportunity to just think, do you know, we really need to book another trip, because do you know something? I need to. And I think everybody, no, I'm just purely selfishly thinking, you know, but
solo trip.
I'm looking at this January. I'm thinking,
if we end up,
do you know what? There's so many options.
And if we end up costing you extra money, a bit pounds or dollars, we're not responsible. if we save,
No,
it's not our fault.
if we save you a few dollars,
Wasn't
if we
me.
save you a few dollars here and there, and a few pounds, yes, thank you very much. We will take the plaudits for that quite gladly.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and that.
If you've saved you money, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. That
yeah.
won't charge you very much.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I just, after all those amazing ideas and dreams, can I just say a big thank you to everyone who's listened, to everyone who's shared those 4 years with us, and actually just for making the show just a rather fit way of dreaming of a new adventure and new trips. And that's what we do. We just waffle about Disney, be it Paris, Tokyo, Disneyland, Walt Disney World. We all have our own little dreams going on. And so, until our middle of the month show, there's only one thing left to say, and that is, waffle on.
Waffle on.
Waffle on.
And happy
Waffle on.
birthday!
Happy birthday to us!
Happy birthday.